my colleague had been studying at a very high-tier university, and we saw the potential for the human limits of how fast they could go. We saw that it could be broken. So me and my colleague devised a plan to create a special formula that could make a human's running ability exceed expectations and cause them to run so fast that they could complete a marathon in an hour. Now, we saw this formula as groundbreaking, but there was one key ingredient missing. It was the extract of the hydrochloric acid ribonucleic calcium chloride magnesium compound found in the iguana tree in Peru. Now, this is a very hard substance to find, so me and my colleague had to go a little under the table, if you know what I mean. Like, it was a bit illegal, if I'm being honest. So we went to the dark web to see if we could find anyone that could supply us with what we needed, and luckily we found some. So once we had acquired our substance off the dealer, we began our testing. Now, our first few tests proved to be rather interesting. The substances that we created were very volatile and could not survive on this earth, so they didn't last. So we had to just tone it down a bit for our sake and our tests' sake. So once we had begun testing it more, we discovered that these chemicals were very strong, and we had to combine them in a way in which they would react perfectly with each other. It took a few tries, but eventually we did get there, and we believe that we have now created the perfect formula to properly enhance the human, that they can run a marathon in under an hour. Now, our next step was to find our perfect candidate to test our formula on.
So tell me a bit about the early life of your son.
Now, as soon as he was born, I knew that he was quite different. Now, for starters, he came out the wrong hole, which is already peculiar enough. And when he came out, he was the buffest baby I had ever seen in my life. And as he grew up, there was something different about him. He just was different from all the other kids. You know?
Yeah, so why'd you call him Wayne King?
Oh, well, I'll have you know that it's no longer Wayne, it's Euan. He recently changed it to that. But Wayne King just sounds like a winner's name. And no son of mine is going to be a loser. I've had 6, you know. I think I know how it goes.
So I took Wayne on at a very young age, and I could obviously tell from the first time I saw him that he had a very special gift, one which not many other children of his age could do, and that was his insane running ability.
After rigorous scouting, we had finally found our man, a young boy named Euan King. Now, he was a bit reluctant to join our experiment at first, but after a few choice words with his father, we managed to get him on board. Now, at this point, we figured that the best place to put our formula was within this special deodorant can. Now, with this, we decided to start our testing on Euan. We sprayed this deodorant can full of our formula on different parts of our body to see how they would react. First, we tried his calves, and we discovered that they managed to be increased in how much power and force they could output. The tendons in his calf were much more bouncy and stringy, allowing him to run faster. Next, we moved on to his hamstrings. Now, this meant that he could never have his hamstrings be injured at all. So he was able to run for a very, very long time without feeling any pain whatsoever. We also tried his ACL, because ACLs are what constantly get injured within runners. And we also found that it strengthened his ACL to the point where you could not break it even if you hit it with an axe. Now, our next place to try it was his brain, as we thought that this would increase the speed of the neural pathways and causing him to think faster and more accurately, so he could output brain signals to the rest of his body and make them work a lot harder. We also sprayed it on his eyes so he could visualize the finish line from the start line. Now, this was an absolute breakthrough for us, as it caused him to have an absolute drive to finish the race as fast as he could. However, during our testing of this spray on the different parts of Euan's body, we did encounter a few side effects. Our first side effect was an increase in aggression. Euan became very aggressive towards us as we were testing him. There were multiple times where we did get into a bit of a brawl, and Euan did throw hands with us as well. It was not a pretty sight. Another minor side effect was the fact that Euan fell into a coma for about 3 years. Now, we're not going to mention this, as we feel that these pros outweigh the cons quite measurably, and this is for science, and we will not let some simple side effects get in our way. Following our testing, we now had decided that it was time for Euan to be fully immersed in our formula to truly make him at peak performance for his marathon attempt. Now, this test, or not test, but this full immersion involved Euan being fully isolated in this tank for approximately 3 years. Now, obviously Euan would not agree to this at all, so we simply told them that it would only be about 3 hours. Obviously this was not the case. Now, in this chamber, we were going to pump it full of our formula to completely saturate him and make him the best he could possibly be. On the day leading up to the race, it was finally time to release Euan from his 3 years in the chamber. Instantly we were met with an absolute bout of aggression. We were absolutely knocked to the floor with how aggressive he was. Now, it took some time to calm Euan down, and we decided that before the race we would run a few tests on him. Now, these tests involved Euan being hooked up to a number of scientific gizmos to discover what effects the 3 years had had on him. We did find that his blood had turned a bright green, which was not surprising considering the green pigment that we had used in the formula. His veins were pulsing with this green energy, and his eyes were just the greenest green I have ever seen.
He's done it!
He's done it! He's completed the marathon in under an hour! 59 minutes, 40 seconds! We've done it! We have made the formula that makes humans the fastest thing on Earth. We've done it!
Should we like rescue him or something? This is an amazing day.